Oh, it's me. Hi, Scott Ott with Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, and this is a backstage episode of Right Angle. And that wasn't any kind of shtick that I was just laying down there.
Forget what
I
you were
literally
doing.
forgot. We're rolling, we hit the clapper thing, and everything's great. And I'm like, why isn't anybody talking? So here's what we do. We get together once a week and we plan and kick around the ideas for the topics that we plan to discuss this week on our episodes of Right Angle at BillWhittle.com, also available at YouTube and on various black market video sites, BitTorrent and things like that.
The dark
in the dark web.
Where
we live.
That's right. We are the intellectual dark web right here.
Oh, my God, that's pathetic.
Could you have picked a better name for that, by the way? I think that it just sounds a little racy, sounds a little wild and crazy, and really, it's just a bunch of philosophers expounding for hours on end.
Yeah. Cinemax doesn't even show that stuff anymore.
I wouldn't call them philosophers necessarily.
Well, I guess what passes for philosophers in an age such as ours. How's that? Well, Stephen Green is what passes for a philosopher here, and he has the privilege, the honor, the burden this week of hosting our members-only episode. And so, Stephen, you get first crack at these juicy topics this week.
Well, you know, I'm a bad news first kind of guy, so I have to tell you.
That's encouraging.
It's another lightning round! Oh, yes, it is. 7 topics, 3 for Scott.
You're killing me,
Bill.
Larry.
Is
You're
there-
killing me
I
with
know. And just
I come
one
under a
for me.
flag
It's
of
host
surrender.
these lightning pictures.
I know. I'm busting the bank with you, Bill. You could recycle. You know, save the
No,
planet.
no.
There
People
are
have
no two lightning
expectations.
bolt pictures alike. And so you have,
That's right.
there's probably an endless supply out there on the internet. By the way, those of our viewers who actually take lightning bolt pictures for fun and who have some other way of compensating themselves and feeding their family, you might just send, what do they call that when it's not licensing? There's no common
domain.
Public
collective
domain.
commons or whatever. Public domain, yes. Send those to Bill with your signed permission, and then we'll send a team
appreciate
of
it.
attorneys to your house so we can use those.
I'd appreciate it, because
We're-
every single one of those lightning pictures cost me $12,500, and people say no, it's not worth that much, but I say yes.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes, it is.
Because-
we absolutely have to have top quality graphics on the members only show.
And you may not have noticed this, but actually each one of those lightning bolts is sending a cloaked signal. There is kind of either a sine or a cosine wave involved there that's actually transmitting mystical information related to the topics, and that so our
Masonic
viewers can decode
information.
them.
Yeah, you had to go and blow our cover, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
They still have to crack the code. Okay, Stephen, I'm sorry. Go
Oh,
ahead.
no, that's quite all right. So that's our members. You're not going to know quite what to expect, but it's going to be a good combination between serious and fun. Good enough?
Hooray.
Yay.
Yes.
And then
That's what you promise us every week. Go ahead.
I know, and I deliver every week. Where was I? Oh, our regular episode. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Are you guys familiar with Christian Toto? He's a local guy here in Colorado who runs a really good movie critic and cultural commentary site called Hollywood and Toto. Really good guy. He alerted me to this story late last week. Or maybe it was Monday. Honestly, I can't recall. It's only Tuesday here, and I've already lost my mind. About Roger Moore, or not Roger Moore, Michael Moore, the alleged documentarian.
Yes, Fahrenheit 11.9.
Yes, he's apparently been stiffing and then bad-mouthing at least one of the small businesses that has helped make him rich and famous. And it got
Imagine my shock.
It got so bad with this one company called Boston Light and Sound. Apparently, Michael Moore slandering the employees there after stiffing them. That Leonard Maltin, the movie critic, who's just one of the nicest, most genial guys you'll probably ever see on TV, other than me, of course. No, just a genuinely nice guy, and I don't even know what Maltin's politics are, frankly. But he had to come out on Twitter apologetically defending his friends at Boston Light and Sound against Michael Moore. And apparently now he and his daughter, the Maltons, are going to court against Michael Moore to get some dang money out of this guy to keep these people from losing their business.
He's a horrible, horrible man.
Yeah.
So is somebody
Personally.
making a documentary called Michael and Me, where they walk around and they just try to get an interview with Michael
Somebody
Moore?
tried to do that, actually. I think somebody
really?
called Michael and Me tried to, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, except he's way more elusive.
Yeah,
than,
he is a
the
congenital
GM guy.
liar, and from the time he was in high school, just a despised individual.
Yeah.
He's not a good guy.
Nope.
And
So we're
yet,
gonna talk about him.
he is beloved by countless millions because it really doesn't matter what kind of a person he is. It matters what kind of work does he produce, the kind of work that people want to see.
Yeah.
He makes them think they're smart by playing to their bigotry and their prejudices and their lack of information. And apparently David Hogg was there. I'll tell you something about the quality.
This was a great story. If you got to tell this, Bill, because I love this.
So
story.
David Hogg, just for a little background, David Hogg, in case you haven't been following anything ever, is the kid that went to the high school where they had the shooting several months ago. And he has become an outspoken opponent of your right to keep and bear arms. And he has gathered probably 1 million Twitter followers or so. Anyway, there he is. And what did he do, Bill?
He's smart as a box of rocks, and he was in Canada, and he was telling the Canadians how they should vote for the kind of America that we all want. And then apparently somebody might have, hey man, this is Canada, they can't vote.
I know it was donate money to Democrats in the U.S.
Hang on. Yeah, then he said, okay, then you can donate money to the Democrats, and it's like, and then Michael Moore takes it because that's illegal. Yeah, not that would slow David Hogg down. I actually, there's a picture of the two of them together, Hogg in the foreground, Michael Moore in the background, and it's like, give me a second.
And a guy.
It's like the passing of the cow patty. I was going to say the torch, but it's not. There's nothing torchy about it. I actually almost used a better word, but I didn't. And it's like, here you go, kid. And you're both very stupid, very unpleasant, exceedingly deceitful people.
Yeah.
And if you didn't know anything about the story and you saw that picture and you knew that one of them had the last name Hogg.
Plus, apparently then David Hogg started just tweeting, the Russians gave Donald Trump $30 million through the NRA. The Russians gave $30 million through the NRA. And there's no evidence of this. This never happened.
Completely untrue.
But my first reaction on this was, that's a good tip for Donald Trump. It's a nice tip for a weekend, $30 million. It's a nice thing about having a rich president. He got $7 million from the Russians. Like, in the time it took him to take the bribe, he's losing money. It's just like, come on.
But he did bring the car around, and
And that's a good $30 million right there. Yeah.
oh my goodness! And then I understand that David Hogg also called on the Canadians to rescue the United States of America, because that was
they're
as
real
part of
good
his
at that.
plea.
Actually, if they burned Washington again, that might be a big start.
I was at an event several years ago up in Ottawa, and it was really fun. I was talking to this big Canadian audience, obviously, and I said, you're probably fascinated, of course, with the one topic that American conservatives can never simply ever put down. That, of course, is the War of 1812. And I basically said, you mean-spirited, hostile bastards. This was right in the middle of the Obama presidency. Came down and burned the White House. And I'm here to tell you on behalf of all American conservatives, if a few of you could get liquored up and find the nerve to do it again, we'd be exceedingly grateful. And furthermore, we would come back up with our army and we'd liberate Quebec for you like we did last time.
By the way, speaking of Bill Whittle, I got a note from and I never know if these social media names are real names or not, but our friend Lindy Denham, Bill, says,
sounds real.
Lindy, who I can't click the picture and tell whether Lindy is a boy or girl name, but anyway, Lindy said
it's a guy.
It's a guy. Okay, Lindy flew out from Texas to California just to see Bill Whittle speak and got to shake hands with him and
Nice.
at an AFA event.
That was, I'm going to have that available as soon as it's available to me. It was recorded.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was
great.
supposed to do 20 minutes and I did 45.
Oh, I thought you meant the handshake between you and Lindy.
No, that's historic. That's engraved on titanium. Yeah, I did it on the kind of people that are ruining California and ruining the United States, and it was fun. I was on
Nice.
fire. Had a good time.
So
It was
now-
very, very, very kind of him, and I hope he's watching this. And hey, Lindy, how's it going? And it was a pleasure to meet you. Very funny guy too. Very nice.
So Lindy apparently lives about 70 miles or so away from me
He mentioned that.
in Texas. And by the way, has a birthday within 2 weeks of you. But anyway, so Lindy tells me he's going to have to coordinate a time when he can get up to the Frisco or McKinney area to shake my hand. To which I responded, what an anticlimax.
Every time I hear stories like this, I'm just every single time I'm just consistently confronted with how low the bar for celebrity is in the conservative universe. You know, it's just
And then
just
it's lowered again
appalling.
because it's internet celebrity. So we're really talking.
I know,
We're,
I know,
We're,
I
we're
know.
talking about the bar is actually a toothpick propped up on two little pencil eraser tips.
Yes, we look up to reality TV stars, you know, with an envious eye at their legitimacy and fame. My God, no, but he's a really, really sweet guy, and I hope it was worth it. It was a real fun day.
I bet
Well,
it was.
apparently he plans to come by the store sometime this week where I
Make
work
him
at
buy
Nebraska
something.
Furniture Mart. Yeah, and that's my only hope. I mean, I have, of course, I am caught up in my own fame and celebrity, but it would really be worthwhile if I could make like $5 in commission off his purchase of a sofa or something.
And I'd just like to add that the bar is always open here at the top of Monument Hill.
Well, he has.
Well played.
Lindy has kind of given up on the prospects of ever meeting you because you, in his mind, you're like one of those survivalists who's out in the mountains of Alaska or something.
We're not quite in the middle of nowhere. I mean, we've got a highway right there. That's
You
something.
guys could both get smashed together at the same chronological time and meet in,
There you go.
you know,
Virtual space.
Bacchanalia space, yeah, or something like that. Yeah, that'd
That's
be
right. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. So I forget where we are in this thing. Bill, did you do your topic for this week yet?
No,
Okay.
Let's
Well,
do
why
one of
don't you
those.
go ahead and do that then?
I think I will. I know today's September 11th, and that means we probably won't get this out until September 12th. But I'd like to just take a look at where the country is 17 years after that day that got so many of us started, changed so many things. I just finished a very, very good book by Robert Kaplan called "The Revenge of Geography, rather. Yeah, talking about these enormous historical trends that are virtually unbuckable and what the future for America might hold and what are the consequences of the Iraq War and all the rest of it and so on. So I think it'd be good to take a look back, you know. Things are better in some ways and worse in other ways. You know, we'll see.
That's good.
Glenn Reynolds posted on the morning of that, or early afternoon of the attack, some quick thoughts, and he reposted them today at Instapundit or on his Facebook page, I forget which.
Seems like a
And
look.
it's uncanny how accurate he was about, you know, what he thought would play out over the coming days. You know, from the legislation that would be kind of omnibus legislation that where people who have been wanting to get things passed for years but didn't have the impetus to get it done would pile that into a security bill of some sort. And so
Patriot Act.
anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. And he said that we would do all kinds of things that would be ineffective to block terrorism and, you know, at our airports and all that kind of stuff. And
You know, Scott, you just made me have a thought, and I'm a little upset with you about that. But
I'm sorry about that.
it occurs to me that the more clever the acronym, the stupider the law. Is that a good rule of thumb?
Oh, that's absolutely a rule of thumb.
That is now called
100%.
Green's Law.
Or
Yeah.
coleslaw, as we like to call it in the
Coleslaw. Is that a thing? I've never heard that before. That's brilliant. Coleslaw.
Yeah, so it's been 17 years. That's
Yeah.
quite a long time. It
Yeah.
seems like 2 or 3.
That's a generation, effectively. I remember I found a thing on, I think it was Ron Paul's website in the last couple of weeks, that it won't be long before somebody does an interview with some Army private in Afghanistan who was not born on 9/11/2001.
Yeah, that's right.
Was not
yeah.
born yet. Yeah.
Or whose birthday it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell of a thing.
So here's my thing. Bob Woodward's book just came out today, as we record this, which of course means that none of us have read it.
No.
However, if you've been reading the news at all lately, despite the fact that there is a massive hurricane approaching the coast of the Carolinas, and that there's all this, breaking news related to government investigations, and it's the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, you would think that the most important historical, cultural, entertainment, and educational event ever was Bob Woodward publishing another book, as I said last week, his monthly book. So anyway, I'd like to talk about it now, because we can't talk about the content of it other than every page of it that's been leaked to the media before it actually came out.
Which is what Woodward does every time. And he publishes
Yes.
one of these books, every 13, 14 weeks?
It's like watching an hour and a half long trailer for an upcoming movie.
No, it's like watching a 90-minute trailer for an upcoming 22-minute sitcom.
That's right. Anyway, there's several fascinating aspects of it. For example, the book has gone into its 7th printing before its release. They pre-released it, so to speak. They took pre-orders starting back in July, and they're already in the 7th printing. The publisher, I believe, which is Simon & Schuster, said that it is in its. There will be 1 million tangible paper copies of it in circulation on day one. Not to mention the Kindle and electronic versions of it. We already know that the book is filled with unattributed quotations from people who claim to work at the White House, and we have no reason to doubt that Bob Woodward didn't actually interview 100 people and record most of those interviews. But the sense you get from all of it is it's not really so much a book about Donald Trump or even anything about his policies, but it's more a book about how it is to work at the White House. And I wonder how different it would be if you had done exactly the same thing during previous administrations going back for 40 years.
It was life-threatening under the Clinton administration, I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but this Vince Foster thing, at the very, very, very least, Hillary Clinton simply scolded and belittled and berated a guy who was suffering severe clinical depression. At the very, very least, she was nudging him. And then I don't put anything past those people.
Well,
not anymore.
It's just the kind of people who would... you'd like to think that the best of the best would be called to work at the White House. These are the...
I don't hope
like
that.
Scott,
I want
you and your scrapple face.
The best of the best in the private sector where they can do some good, not in the public sector where they're like, oh, what can I do next?
Now, see, here he goes again. Like last week, we got hammered in our comments on YouTube and at our website because we were slamming government employees. Do we need to make the distinction and say we're not talking about the average run-of-the-mill, hard-working, dedicated public servant?
Yes.
But anyway, it's amazing to me, not only that, let's just say that everything that Woodward reported was true, and there's actually this kind of backstabbing, sneaky behavior going on at the White House. But the fact that they would then talk with Bob Woodward about it, and the sense you got was the people who talked to Bob Woodward, and this I think is a thrust of his book, were living in fear for our country, and they felt like they were the only ones who could save it. And I just thought, what a perfect staff member for the Trump administration, because Trump ran for office basically saying, I alone can fix it. And apparently, and that was a phrase that he used all the time, I alone can fix this. Apparently, he's managed to surround himself with a coterie of people who also believe the same. And isn't that probably the same with almost every administration we've ever seen?
Yeah. Not to be too cynical, but yeah.
Thought a lot about this Woodward book. And the conclusion I've come to is that I just don't care.
I tried reading one of his little White House expose books back during the Clinton administration, and I was so completely bored. Do you know what these Woodward books exist for? And I think he publishes one of these. I think it's every year or two.
They are used to decorate the apartments of progressives so that they can be seen prominently during cocktail parties.
That's part of it, and the other part is for DC types to find their own names in the index.
Ooh.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I will confess, I have several books on my shelf here that have my name in the index from years ago when Scrappleface was at his heyday. And the first thing I did was open those books and go to the index and think, okay, I know I'm mentioned in here. Where is it?
We are as human as anybody.
Cannot wait to get the fresh insight from a guy who became famous for reporting 45 years ago. You know?
Well,
this is like having a guy covering the Japanese surrender who first won his spurs talking about Teddy Roosevelt's charge up of San Juan Hill, you know? I mean, it's like
where's the cavalry on board this ship? Where's the horses at?
I just don't care.
Well, and I think you're in a strange position because, you know, a book to have 1 million copies in print, even if it only sells 50,000. But if the book actually has that many copies in print, a lot of people are going to read it. And then there's sort of the overflow effect of people who read it, who talked about it to other people and stuff like that. So it's going to be in the zeitgeist. It's out there, so to speak. But then it kind of takes on a life of its own by the fact that you buy it or read it, you're part of that multiplication effect that makes it seem like it's a big dang deal. And I guess I always like to step back from these things and go, okay, what's really happening here? Like, what do we have? When all is said and done about the Woodward book, is there anything in there? I've not read a thing yet where I went, holy cow, Donald Trump is like that?
This is why I don't care.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to suffer the same fate as the Hillary book. I saw somebody had on Instagram or Twitter, it was at a bookstore, and it was Hillary's What Happened, and the price was $4.99, marked down to $2.99.
Oh, $4.99 was the initial remainder bin price, because that book probably went on sale for $20 or $24 initially.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then the only thing I've ever seen that did worse than that was George Takei's biography. So autobiography, which should have been called Oh My, but it was actually called To the Stars or something. And I remember seeing that in like a bargain thing in a bookstore for like $1.99 or something. And then I was there 2.5 months later, and that single copy was still there, you know. And it's,
oh, the sad single copy. You almost want to buy it just out of pity.
No.
But I think that's what's going to happen with a lot of these. You know, it made me, when you said that, Bill, about the cocktail parties of the liberals in Washington, if a liberal downloads a copy of Bob Woodward's book and actually wants to read the thing, can they request that they also get a dust jacket with a dummy styrofoam book inside it that they can put on their shelf?
or carry with them to Starbucks? Yes, absolutely. It comes with the deal, definitely. Yeah.
They should have, like, you know, those little stretchy sleeves you can put over a school book or whatever. They should have that for your Kindle so you can advertise at Starbucks what you're reading right now.
Well, they probably have a copy of War and Peace, and then they just download and print various PDF files for, you know, the covers of the new books that they haven't read.
Okay. Well, these sound like fascinating topics this week. Have we got everybody? Is there a fourth that we haven't asked yet?
Don't think
ladies
so.
and gentlemen, you have been an ongoing encouragement to us, not just our friend Lindy Denham, who's literally trotting the globe for an opportunity to say hi. You are out there all the time encouraging us, prodding us onward, asking questions, joining up with our group at MeWe.com, and even Facebook, where there are a handful of people still left after 40% of their market left, apparently. And so we are grateful for that. We know that the people who are shedding $9.95 a month to be members at BillWhittle.com, that's hard-earned money. Despite how good the Obama economy recovery is going so far, it's still real money, and I
saw a meme of Barack Obama wearing that cowboy hat saying he's taking credit for the 1849 gold rush.
So I used to do, and I think years ago I had a scrapple face story that said the Obama Presidential Library was going to be co-located with the George W. Bush Library because everything that was going on in Obama's administration for the first 6 years was George Bush's fault. Now he'll also co-locate it with the Donald Trump Presidential Library because all the good things from the Obama administration actually happened after his administration.
I tell you one thing about the Donald Trump Presidential Library. And that will be, they will have the best buffet prices and the loosest slots of any presidential library in American history.
It is really, Barack Obama has come down to this. He is the hyphen between George W. Bush and Donald J. Trump.
And who'd have thunk it? Could you bring that up actually during the 9/11
please do.
look back thing?
If you know, you always say that, but I never remember to. So yeah, if you remind me, I'll bring it up.
Hey, Scott, you remember that really interesting thing you said that one time?
Say it again.
I do not.
Nah, me neither. Okay.
Oh.
Well,
Okay, ladies and
let's
gentlemen.
roll this wagon train.
That's about enough of that. We are out of Betamax videotape, and so we got to go. Thank you very much for your support of this endeavor, and for Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks to the members of BillWhittle.com for making Right Angle possible.